Hey guys, and welcome to the Igloo. So, currently the new combat system is on Test Live, and right here I'm going to show you guys a few examples of what I've been experimenting on and how to fight. Now the hammers, what people have been fighting with, is exactly how this is. And honestly, people are not going to be really operating with the hammer for like hardcore PvPers, because the quick swing, which you're seeing, is that it takes such a long time to draw, fire, and then roll. You can actually get hit twice with a spear, as well as 2 times with 2 heavy attacks with a sword by the time you do a full quick swing with the hammer. Even though you can possibly do it, like on how I've been doing it with this build, which is high strength, 30 vitality, and unlimited sprint. You can do it. It is achievable, but the build is so unique. So if you're fighting somebody that is a very experienced player, you will not be able to win, especially if you're versing a sword or a spear or even a bow build for what it is currently, which you'll later on see in the video. But there's a lot for what's going on with the new combat mechanics and combos, because most people are not going to be doing implementations of combos in certain ways, shapes, and forms, because it's not going to be as official as compared to PvE content. So now we're going to be fighting with double daggers. Most double dagger fighting, when fighting against like a two-handed, it's pretty easy. The two-handed is just a complete garbage weapon when it comes to hardcore PvP implementation, especially with the quick sling being so slow. So I'm just going to completely go through that. Other times when you're seeing with this, when you're trying to roll with it, it doesn't really work as well as what you really need to be intended. Yes, the double dagger backswing is probably more prevalent, but when you're going to be doing heavy swings with the double daggers, it doesn't help unless you are close quarters, because the point of the double daggers is to close the gap to somebody that is trying to roll away, which actually plays to my advantage here. Now when I'm fighting against a guy with a hammer, it doesn't really affect it as much to know when you're fighting somebody, because that quick swing, it takes so long to actually manifest that it's just too much time. Well, you can see the double daggers goes as quickly as I'm doing it right here. Again, the sword and spear, you have to fight completely differently. And as long as you can get the chain in, or you get 2 quick hits in before they roll, it's something as a big benefit. Now most of these builds I have around 20 strength, 20 vitality, and I'm able to get everything perceived. So now I'm fighting against him with a spear. Spear combo is still one of the things where you have to still dodge, roll in different ways. It is possible to fight somebody with a spear with double daggers, but a better combination for it is somebody with a sword to close the gap a distance. If you're out a distance of them and then you close the gap with something like a heavy single sword swing, it actually works. Now with the spear, what you can do is double quick swing, which can actually help with all the fighting as best as you can. The double quick is probably the best combo for the spear at the current moment. Yes, you can do the heavy attack, but the quick double and then a heavy right on afterwards while doing multiple rolls to fight somebody actually is a better benefactor than the combo breakers. Now we get to bows. Now I don't have a current extreme build of these bows, but this is probably one of the advancing starter bow sets which doesn't have cripple. So let's say you have a strength build but you have a bow. It won't help you as much as an archer build, but it can actually fight in different ways in every shape and form when you're trying to go back and forth. Now he's being very smart about it while hiding behind objects so that he can actually close the gap, because in bare open areas he's screwed. I can get him almost any time in bare open area. I can get him while ricocheting off walls. I can get him in most stuff. As long as he has an object blocking him, not even thinking about auto-locking. Auto-locking only does center of mass at the current point that he's at. Not when he rolls, not when he does anything else. So, in order for you to actually get a good hit on target, what I've been experiencing and for what I've been practicing it with is actually bouncing it off the ground. And it actually makes it a lot easier for you to do it. And you see that what he's doing is he's trying to close the gap. He's trying to close the gap with quick attacks. The best quick attacks to engage and to actually bring closer for what our studies have been is to actually either do double dagger or heavy swing to close the gap. But again, not all of the combat is refined, and we think that this is a combination that is very deadly.
It actually works pretty
so
good, though.
When we are actually going to be going back and forth, and you're going to see later on into the video that this can actually fight against spear comboers, especially if you're at a big distance. Big distances help you as a big advantage, especially if you have max crit, like what I've been having. You don't always need max crit, but it helps tremendously to max crit, especially the regen, especially if you don't have max crit entirely on its benefit. So, this next fight is with the fight of the spear. The spear is one of the deadliest things available right now on stable. You can get two-shotted, like he can two-shot me right now. But because my build is so sound and I keep my zoning distance, you can fight somebody that is a pretty average to even a good spear maker. If you have a couple people doing this, like I'm going to be showing in my next video, it's just a straight lob. And then it requires a little more coordination with having multiple bowmen. If you have multiple bowmen, you could cripple your allies. You couldn't cripple anybody in that benefactor. It becomes one of the hardest things to fight when you're trying to go back and forth in this kind of iteration. One of the highest iterations that you have while doing this is that you have to worry about the quick swings. 2 quick swings and you're done. That's why you have to be very prevalent on the roll when you're a bowman. Spacing is always a thing. With the spear, you have a block and a half engage distance to your target. So as long as you maintain a block and a half distance of foundations from your target, you are going to be a victor by having distance. As you can see with multiple auto locks, it doesn't help initially, but for novice people with bowmen, it will help tremendously. Again, this is an experimental build that I have, is 30-30, and then maxed out with a tattoo. Now, tattoos require dragon powder. 2 dragon powder when you don't have an alchemist 2. So be very careful on how you use this stuff. It's a very expensive build if you use tattoos. So, continuing on with this, I then fought him again with using a mixture between the auto lock method and using a little bit of it. As you can see, while he's moving back and forth, he is not being completely engaged upon the target. If you are serpentining while you're being shot by a single bowman or even 2 bowmen, you can be able to get out, especially if you have enough grit for it and enough heals for it. You have to make sure that you balance your balance as well as your environment. If you know your environment while fighting a bowman, you will have one of the better effects than you could have possible while engaging multiple targets. The best thing to do is to think smart, be on your feet, move, engage, move back and forth, get everything done, because the best thing is to actually engage from afar. When you see that the auto lock isn't the accurate depiction that people think, oh, it's going to be meta breaking. It's not going to be meta breaking. You have to learn to serpentine. People will catch up. People will go around you. You have to think about your combat while you are going and fighting in certain ways. If you do not fight in certain ways, you will have a bad time. Now, fighting into a narrow corridor can be possible. You can challenge a guy with a spear inside narrow corridors now, as long as you know about your spacing and blocking. Ricochets will be your advantage. But if you're going to be trying to do this multiple ways, it's going to suck. I got him to
I'm trying to
bleed
regen
out,
through it,
but
but
it's
it
going
keeps going
to
wrong
just
thing.
completely go. There's other ways of achieving this kind of target preset because of the bouncing. Bouncing is one of your highest priorities when in close quarters and when out in the field. And the best way to do it is to always bounce. In every way, shape, and form.
I'm in trouble.
Spacing, spacing, spacing. That was a little treat before anything else. I have here a little bit of action with a red dragon. Hope you guys enjoy this video and have a good one.
What the fuck? He shoots fire now. Some of my arrows bounce off of him. It's weird. They like ricochet off of him. That's pretty cool.